Welcome everybody back once again to another episode of Kicking It with Nick Nova. I didn't really have a name for it, I just decided to call it that. And as you can see on the right of your screen, I'm joined by a very young but very talented young man. He is more than half my age, which makes me feel really, really old when I think about it that way. But it goes by the name of Zack Scratch, and I would like to welcome him to the show or podcast, whatever the hell this is. Now, Zack, thank you very much for joining me. How are you, young man?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Been pretty good, especially this tough time with this lockdown, and I've been really bored since I can't do much. How about you?
The usual, my friend. I've finally just been working a couple of hours a day now to get myself at least somewhat back into the groove of things. I won't be going back to the office where I work for at least another, 3.5 weeks till the end of August, unless something else changes. So I'm on the same boat as you. I've been at home, I haven't been doing much. It's been quite the frustrating experience, shall we say. But with that being said, myself, yourself, and a few others included, we've been bringing joy and cheer to some of the people who are in lockdown through live streams. And before we talk about that, I want to get right into it. You are, as I said, you're more than half my age, and I'm 33, which means you've got to be bordering that 15-year-old mark. And
That's right.
for a 15-year-old, that is something you get asked more than anything when you're doing your live streams. When I see there are 30 or 40 people watching, and they just straight away ask, wow, this kid is young, like how old is he? And you always have to say 15, 15. Do you think for yourself that that is a bit of a trip out to some people, that a 15-year-old can mix as well as you do, plays the tracks that are, almost double your age, bordering, 25, 30 years old, some of them? Does it trip you out at all that you're a 15-year-old and you've got such a following from a very young age because of your music styles?
Oh well, to be honest, when I started to get into all this DJing stuff, like I did have a feeling that some people would like be surprised, like, oh, how does this? Like, obviously, these tracks are 25 years older than me. Everyone's like, oh, how does he know this song? Like, this is amazing. But to be honest, I didn't even see myself. Like, I started probably this is like year and maybe 3 months, 4 months that I've started like getting into mixing. So like before that, I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't even into like when I was about 13, I wasn't into, you could say, high energy. Like my dad was the one that got me into it. So like he would, if I were in the car or something, he would always play it and I'd be like, oh, what is this? Like I wasn't into it back then. But obviously like now, like this new generation, like there's nothing new that really like interests me in music wise. So eventually like I started getting into it. And
So
then
when it comes to, you say, your father's influence, was he a clubber back in the day? Did you used to frequent some of these clubs that everyone speaks of, Black Market, NV, DCM, and the like?
yeah. So he would always go to Black Market, DCMs and Rogues every Friday night.
So there is some
Because
history there.
because my I don't know if Charlie told you, but my dad and Charlie both went to the same school. So uh I think one day they just end up sawing each other and they like used to go back in the days.
So there is that connection there as well. Of course, when we say Charlie, we speak of Charlie Brown. So let me just get this correct. You didn't get into DJing or energy a year ago. You were not into it at all. You've only started in the last year learning to DJ as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so in the last year, like you could say at the beginning of the year, I started like getting into DJing, probably like what was it, year 2020. Probably halfway through the year, I started getting into the music. And then eventually I was like I was going through all the mixes, listening to even yours, listening to everyone mixes. I was like, oh, like it would be mad doing my like trying to do my own mix and just seeing how it goes. And at first, I didn't know anything about like how to mix one song from another and like what controllers and decks you need. I was just using like I was actually using my phone, like just playing around and
It's
like
any which way to begin, my friend. Any which way. It doesn't really matter how you start, so long as you start. That's what I tell a lot of people when they say, I want to learn how to DJ. I'm just like, well, just start, learn somehow. If you don't have the equipment to learn, there are software programs. You can get trial programs as well online that you can practice just learning how to queue up songs and get beat matching spot on and all these other things. And that's the thing as well, because you would know more so out of yourself, and anyone that's listened to the My Story series will know that it was harder for myself to get into DJing in the mid 2000s, and even harder before that for the veterans of today when they were doing it on vinyl back in the 90s before CDs even came a thing. And now you've got controllers, which are right behind me in the background right there, which connect to a laptop, and you've got thousands upon thousands of tracks you can just mix almost instantaneously. So was it hard for you to pick up how to mix, or did you also have a bit of a struggle at one point as well, knowing when to queue up a song, where the breaks are, how to count music and beats and all those sorts of things?
well, to be honest, when it came to like mixing, my dad pretty much showed me how to like do it. Like he's not a DJ himself, but he showed me because like he's listened to the music over for years. So like he told me to keep counting the beats, and like I tried. Obviously, I mixed two songs and slowly brought the next one over, and it eventually worked. And I was like, "Oh wow, that's amazing!" So eventually, from that point, I just experimented with a whole lot of songs, and then just got into it.
It's amazing how something so simple can bring out such an effect. Just putting two tracks together side by side, BPMs in sync, and just mixing it in there. But aside from that, with your DJing side of things, like, do you see that as being something you want to do in the long term? I know when I was starting out, I thought I'd be DJing every day. I'd be, some massive international DJ, such as the pipe dream that you have when you first start as a teenager in the mid 2000s. But I remember it was the legend, the Sydney legend that is Steve Play, who once said to me, he goes, "You got to get a day job. You have to get a day job because you won't be DJing every minute of every day." So that was wise advice. But is there something you want to do besides DJing? Are you, like, you're still in high school, you're probably still going through your school certificate and things like that. Is there something that you want to be first and foremost before you want to DJ, or are you still deciding where you want to take your long-term career?
Well, good question. To be honest, like when I'm older, I'm not sure what I want to do yet, but like right now I'm like I'm enjoying this DJ stuff, like going live and making, especially right now everyone's bored in lockdown and it's trying to make people happy. So at the moment I'm enjoying that.
So you don't have anything that you're looking at long term? Like, do you have a career prospect in mind? Is there something you want to be when you graduate? Once you graduate, as well as DJing on the side, or is that still a little bit too early for you to determine?
Well, at the moment, because at the right now I'm in year 9, so uh, I don't know. I think something's still got to think about, but at the moment, I could see myself like doing one thing and like doing DJing as well, like as like a side thing, like a side career.
Yeah, important to have something else as well, because all the top DJs in Sydney, I guarantee you, like, unless they're like the top, five, they all have something that they do on the sides as well. I know, you get people in concreting, some are in air conditioning, some are. I know one guy used to be a teacher. I don't know if he still is. I myself am involved in audio, such as other DJs. So there's always good to it's always good to have something to fall back on, because DJing should be a nice little side gig. But I mean, you never know, you might hit the heights that Martin Garrix did at his very young age. But we'll just use that as the next topic. Martin Garrix, speaking of, I mean, he ended up being a DJ, but his thing was production first and foremost. Do you see yourself moving into production, making music, or are you happy just to be playing the music that's already out there, and new stuff as well?
Well, to be honest, like obviously at the moment, like I don't know how to make music, but I'm just looking up some old school songs that were played back then. But probably when I'm older, I want to eventually make my own songs that like sound old school, like with the sounds and the donks and everything. So yeah.
So no production just yet, but there is still time for you to actually get yourself out there and make something of yourself in production. But I always say it's good to learn how to DJ first and foremost, because you develop an understanding of the music and the structure, what goes where, how things blend in, how they build, how they drop, and all those other bits and pieces, which is important. I mean, you can use old sounds from actual synthesizers like the boys from 2753 do, who I had on the last show. And you know, Danny, to his credit, he's got hardware that is 30 years old, where the tracks we listen to that you play today were probably made on some of these synthesizers. And it's one thing to use the sounds, it's another thing to be able to put them together properly. Now, moving on to the DJing side, you've been doing a lot of live streams on the Forever Energy Facebook group. When did you decide that you were going to do a live stream first? When were you confident in your own skills, where you thought, you know what, I can get on screen and I can, play an hour set? Where did that come from?
Well, to be honest, like when before I start, like I didn't have Facebook then, so obviously I didn't decide to do live stream. I would just practice doing mixes, record it, listen over it, and see if try not to make any mistakes. But obviously, like more mistakes you make, it's probably good because you learn from it. So probably when I eventually got Facebook, obviously I joined Forever Energy, and then eventually I was just like, oh, like I just thought of going live and then just go with the flow, see how it goes. And then first live stream was probably like I wasn't, thinking of the sound quality because I didn't have an iRig yet. So I was just like, yeah, see how this goes. And first time I wasn't like, no one like really heard of me, like, you know what I mean? And second time I think I went live. I was like more people started to join, and then that's when everyone was shocked. They're like, oh, who's this 15-year-old kid? Like, where does he come from? So after like probably, to be honest, the first time I went live, I was nervous because like I've never done it before, and you're trying not to make any mistakes. So second time when everyone was shocked that I was playing all of these like old tracks, that's wanted to keep going and doing it.
You've definitely garnered yourself a bit of a following now, not just on Forever Energy, even people who are not friends with you personally. I've said to him, I go, oh, Zack is on live now, go watch him. It's like, oh, I'm not friends with him. And it's like, well, I can't help you then. It's on his own page. So you have definitely gained yourself a following, even in these last couple of months since you first came about. But even then, I remember someone sending me your Instagram page and someone showing me a video of you mixing, and I thought, it's going to be a young kid and he's going to be playing newer Alex K, Rada or whatever tracks, which is normally what, kids your age would probably listen to, more of the Sunset Brothers' stuff as well. And when I heard, I forget what track it was, I can't remember what it was, so I'm just going to use this as an example. When I heard Kickin' Hard, you mix whatever it was, I just went, okay, this isn't like what I was expecting. This is like proper old school tracks, and he's a young kid, 15 years old, who is mixing these tracks. And your track selection as well, and credit to your old man for showing you the music. I mean, you've probably got a collection that any old schooler would be envious of. And before I move on to the next point, when it comes to live streaming, I get nervous every single time, whether it's on camera or off camera. So there's nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about there. And I've buckled many a time. I've broken glasses on stream. I've queued the wrong tracks on stream. I have muted myself on stream. I have mucked up mixes live on stream, and you know what? It's all part of the deal. So don't feel bad. Even us seasoned boys can still muck up every now and again. But when it comes to the music side, how much of the music did you know before the last year? And where were your father's influences from that rubbed off on you? Were they through Wild FM? Were they through certain DJs, mix CDs, CD compilations like Skits Mix and Alex K and all those sorts of things? Like, where did your knowledge come from?
Well, like my dad, he had all this, Wild FMs and Rob Brizzies, Alex K. So um, I remember when I started getting into high energy, the first person I like started listening to was Alex K. Was I think one of his Ultimate Energy CDs. Listened to all those tracks, and then eventually started liking that, and then I started moving on to Wild FM, like hearing all of those old school tracks, which were pretty good. But even there was this Rob Brizzy, all the Rob Brizzy CDs. So like they got these, old school tracks where, and then I was just like one day I was just like, oh yeah, that sounds like mad, like because obviously now that like these days there's nothing. I don't find anything like good, like as in music wise. Like there's nothing exciting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it all sort of sounds not the same. That's probably not the right term, but it all sort of feels like it's all come from the same factory. It's just this one, like you're using the same dolls, let's just say, but one's got a hat, one's got a drink in their hand, the other one's got fancy shoes. It's all come from the same place. I know it's a crap analogy, but it all comes from the same place, but it's a little bit different when it comes to like the Rob Brizzies is a good example there. I know Rob Brizzy, and even when I first started, I never thought I would befriend any of these people. I always thought I would just be a fan, listening and watching from a distance. And lo and behold, some of these people I now call my friends and colleagues. And like Alex K, first person I probably started listening to properly, like as an exclusive, was Alex K. But before that, I had my influences through my uncle. He used to listen to Wild FM. He also used to listen to the Dinky series, and that's where I got introduced to Dave Austin, Skits Mix, and then Alex K came, shortly thereafter. But with so much Aussie talent out there, and a lot of these guys are Australian, you've got to remember as well. But a lot of the influence that still goes on within the sound today is from the guys 15, 20 years ago. So, do you see yourself as moving on to newer stuff, or are you strictly going to keep to the old school side of things?
Well, to be honest, I think I'd rather do a bit of both. So obviously, like some new and some old. So it's like some new for probably the new generation, and some old for the old school people. But like you said before, I started getting into it. So like DJing, um, so I could like because obviously now like these days I haven't seen anyone else my age. Like I don't even know anyone else my age that likes this type of music. So I was like, yeah, it'd be good to like keep the music alive like throughout the years.
Yeah, you make a good point. There is no one your age that plays the particular style and particular genre of energy as well. I know as an overall we call it high energy, but you've got some genres of the kinds, maybe not official, but like you've got your pizzicato tracks, then you've got like your romper stompers, like DJ's gonna rock the house. You got your trancey ones, you've got just your straight hard house ones. So there's a big variety out there. So you definitely can find your little space, but your track selection as well, like it is up there. You're not playing just any odd Alex K track, for example, just because it's Alex K. Like there is a skill in fine tuning and picking the right tracks when it comes to that. And your track selection, from what I've heard from 10 sets of yours or whatever you've done so far, they're up there. Even I find myself listening, thinking like, I haven't heard this track before. What is this? And I was like, this is banging. I know exactly what time of the night I would play it if I was playing in a club. And here you are, 15 years old, just fanging them out. Like, do you plan what you're going to play, or you just, like a proper DJ, you maybe have one or two tracks in mind and the rest of it you just go by what you're feeling from the vibe of your set?
Well, to be honest, like I usually, yeah, you're right. I do plan it down. like I actually write down what I'm gonna play because obviously I've only been starting this about like halfway through the year now, and I'm not like I don't know, I don't feel ready to just like how you do play any track like anyone selects because you know I don't want to muck it up. But obviously over time, like keep practicing, which I'm still doing, just going over different tracks, and then eventually you know like if this song like blends into that song, like then you can be able to do any song.
Exactly, yeah. Learning music structure, even from a generic standpoint, just overall, learning music structure goes a very, very long way because once you learn music structure in this particular genre, you can learn it for any genre, and then that will apply not just playing energy. You'll be playing hip hop and R&B, you'll be playing 80s, you'll be playing, yeah, ethnic music, house, and all this sort of stuff out there. So long as you know how to, for lack of a better term, read the music when you're seeing the waveforms, which we never had when I was DJing at your age. Everything was by ear. It makes it much easier, and then you can also do much more, which makes you a bit more of a creative DJ as well, rather than just plain vanilla, just mix in, mix out, mix in, mix out. You can start to learn to drop effects in there. You know when a track breaks, you know how long the build up is for, you know how many bars you've got, and all those other things. So yeah, man, learning music is important. And I remember when I first started, I used to write down the seconds of when the bass line would drop in, or when there was a particular moment in the track that I wanted to start from. Whereas over time, it just becomes ingrained in your head and you just know. So yeah, knowing your source material is very, very important. Now, when it comes to your DJing, like I said, only been a year, what is your next goal? Like, okay, you've got a few more years until you're 18 before you can hit the clubs, if we're allowed to go clubbing ever again. But is there anything you want to achieve between now and 18? Like, are you looking to maybe garner a following? Are you looking to get X amount of people subscribing to a channel? Or are you looking to just keep practicing what you're doing, do live streams here and there, and just entertain the masses, and through your own hard work, you would assume that someone who is looking would pick you up and say, you know what, this guy's on board. As soon as I'm able to have him on board at 18 years old, he's on. Like, yeah, what are you looking to do between now and then?
Well, at the moment, obviously I'm just practicing, but I've already gone ahead and bought a new mixer. So obviously, on that mixer, it's got all these different effects buttons compared to the one I got now because it's smaller. So I'm gonna practice around that. Like you said, probably try out like different effects if I do go live. But from now till I'm 18, I just want to like get my mixing perfect. So then when I'm 18, like people will be like, oh, this guy's young, he knows how to mix perfect. Let's, give him a try.
100%. I dare I say, if you were 18 already or close to it, I'd probably say Charlie would be giving your old man a call saying, look, we've been mates in high school. He's jumping on board the next party I do. You know what I mean? Definitely. It's nice to see youngsters get involved amongst it as well. Let's be real. A lot of the other guys, they're getting on age now. I'm not calling you guys old. If you do watch this, Charlie, Drew, and all these other boys. But let's be real here. They're getting into the twilight years of DJing. So they're probably gonna think that, okay, eventually the time is up for me, and they'd like someone else to continue what they've sort of built over the last 20 or 30 years. And myself, okay, I'm still relatively young. I'm only 33, but there's no one else following suit. So there's a massive gap between myself and where you are right now. There's no one in that 20s bracket. So if you could, get in there by the time you are 18, I'll be what, 36, maybe 35. No, not more than that, 38. Wow. I'd be pushing retirement age after that comes through. Wow. So in saying that, it is one of those things where we do hope you continue what you're doing, and you've definitely got a love for it. You've definitely got a following. I mean, you jump on randomly and you've got 20, 30 people watching you already. Now, that may seem small in comparison to some other streams, but these are 20 or 30 people that are choosing to listen to you. Like, they're putting aside whatever they're doing and they're focusing on you, which is why I tell my streamers, I thank them because they don't have to, but they're doing it because there's something that you offer, whether it's your presence, your presentation, your music style, your mixing, whatever it is. So it's very important that you always look after your fans, and I can see you're learning, you're looking at what other people are doing, you're modeling yourself off others, seeing what works and what doesn't, which everyone does. Everyone has to look at other people to make sure that they're going about it the right way. And if it's not working, well, take it back to the drawing board, start again, make a new proposal, and go forward from that. So what are your next steps? So we talked about long term. What are your next steps in the short term now? Are you going to school still? Are you at home in lockdown? What's the go with you at the moment?
Right now, like obviously, I can't, like my school's completely shut down, so I'm doing online school. Pretty much like, last few days, last few weeks, just hasn't been the best. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just been feels weird looking at a computer screen all day. So basically, like last year when we had lockdown, obviously I wasn't DJing then. So, it's good to have, like now I see, now I've got DJing as a hobby. So obviously now if I'm, got nothing to do, just, have a mix around, which is good.
100%. We want to see more of them as well. And there I say, a lot of the viewers out there want to see more of these as well. So shout out to all the young and the old who follow Zack Scratch and watch his streams and enjoy the music. And I'm a fan as well. Kid half my age, and yet when he's online, I'm doing something, but his stream is on one monitor and I'm doing something else on the other monitor. So I always enjoy listening to your sets. Now, where can people find you if they want to follow your music or your DJing? What social media are you on right now?
At the moment, like it's probably mostly, Instagram, Facebook. All my mixes were on SoundCloud. I was like, I was thinking if I should, upload it to either like YouTube and Mixcloud as well. I don't know if you have uploaded anything to Mixcloud or not.
Once or twice I have, yeah. I haven't done it often, but I hear that is the next big thing. It's probably better than SoundCloud at the moment. So that might be worth something. If no one else is doing it and you're the first one, you'd probably be the most successful.
Yeah. So like even obviously like when did you start getting into like high energy? Like were you into it as, a kid or?
My story on the my story side of things, I was in the late tens, early teens, so 9, 10, something around there, and Wild FM was still about. My uncle used to drive me around everywhere. Used to enjoy just hanging out with my uncle, who was 10 years older than me. Still is, I think he's in his mid 40s now, so yeah, about 10 years older. And it was just him listening to DJ Astro mixtape in the car, Dinky Volume 1 on cassette, Skits Mix 5 on cassette, and then it became some CDs. So that's where I first got into it. And then I just fell in love. Under 18s at the time in those early mid 2000s, they were playing Energy. Alex K was doing the rounds. Nick Skits was still DJing. And that was the dance music of that particular era, because that's when you had Milk Inc., Broken Bones, Milk Inc. In My Eyes, Love Inc., Broken Bones, DJ Alligator was big. You also had Scooter. They came out with the Logical song during that particular time period as well. So that was pretty much the rage, and it just started from there. And I love all genres of music, man. Like when it comes to, if you really ask me, if you think about it, I mean, I listen to anything from Energy to classic 30s, 40s, 50s Motown. You know what I mean? Like I just love all genres of music. But that's where it started for me. So yeah, it's for me. It's been a very long time, and I still enjoy the tunes, of course, as always. So that's where it is for me. But on Instagram, you can follow Zack at ZackScratch_AU. And that username sounds familiar. So it's ZackScratch_AU. If you're lucky enough to be added by Zack on Facebook, you can add him on Facebook. And you also said you're on YouTube, and what was the other one? Mixcloud, you said?
Mixcloud I haven't got yet, which I will create accounts now.
Are you on YouTube?
But yeah.
On YouTube?
YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, YouTube I am.
YouTube as well. Fantastic. Anything else you want to add before we wrap things up for this one, young Zachary?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, like, what do you think about like all this COVID stuff that's been going around lately.
Man, better I don't say anything at all starting the COVID talk, but I just want to get back to playing in clubs and venues. I just want to be able to have fun. I want to see the people who watch us online. I want to see them out face to face in front of us and having fun and relaxing. Or if there is an under 18s or a house party somewhere, if we can get you on board as well, that would be fantastic, because there's no rules saying that, under 18s can't DJ at house parties. So if we do end up going back out into the public anytime soon, if I do have a house party, I may be calling your dad and asking if Zack has permission to come and hang out with me for the evening, because it's always good to have someone to hang out with, especially a young prodigy like yourself. Getting to know the scene and what is involved in setting up and maintaining a night as well is very important if you tend to do your own private parties as well. So that would probably be the one thing I'd be focusing on. So yeah, not to get into the politics side of the Rona, but yeah, it sucks. It sucks. I do have my own views and my own reservations, but I'll just say everyone should do what they feel is best for themselves based on the medical information given to them by their doctors, and they should act on that accordingly as best as they see fit. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, like I've always, even when I started DJing, like I've always saw you as an influence. It was like, oh, look at Nick Nova, he's doing live tonight. Like check out, like I'd even show a couple of people and encourage them, and yeah, I just like he's a cool guy.
I appreciate that. I've like, this is all still, I've been doing this now properly again solidly for the last 3 years, maybe 4 years now, or going into the 4th year, and it still blows my mind how people I've not met before, they come up to me and they say thank you, this is my favorite remix, I love this track, I love when you play this and X, Y, and Z. So you better get used to that, man. Get used to it from a young age. It'll become second nature by the time you're 18. Don't be like me, 33 years old, still acting all embarrassed when people come say hi to you. So you don't want to be that person.
Yeah, so because usually on Saturday you would be like DJing at the Albion Hotel or something, and you would obviously see the people on the live stream now.
Yeah, that's what it is. You actually meant to see them face to face, and like I said, hopefully, if there is a place where we can all get together, we can all see each other face to face, and you can meet your fans. And and let's be real, they are fans. If someone watches you consistently every single time you're online or wherever, they are your fans. So don't you forget that. Don't you mistake it. And I think we'll wrap things up there. So once again, Zack Scratch, thank you very much for joining me. 15
Thanks
years,
for having me.
15 years old, gonna tear up the scene in a few more years' time. And make sure you check out his live streams as well. They are streaming on Facebook, on his Facebook page, and also Forever Energy. If you're not a member, do go and join. Zack, once again, thank you very much, and I look forward to your next live stream.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, can't wait. It was, yeah. Also follow Nick Nova _Nick Nova AU, and follow him on Forever Energy and listen to his mixes.
I appreciate that. Thanks very much, buddy. To everyone else,
Thank you.
take care, everyone. You'll hear from me at the next one.